Hello, my name's Larry Tank. I am the owner of a Harley-Davidson forum. Name of that forum is HDBitchin. You can find us at HDBitchin.com. I don't usually do reviews of products or anything. The forum is there for the social aspect of things, of riding, the lifestyle of riding motorcycles, Harley-Davidsons in particular. We do share technical information, do-it-yourself information on the forum. But HDBitchin and myself personally, as the owner of that forum, has over the past years been following the high-tech motorcycle helmet market that's out there. And there are quite a few players that are out there attempting to build a high-tech helmet, HUD helmets, rear view camera, forward-facing camera, Bluetooth communicators. They'll do a number of things, all integrated into the helmet. So this video, as you saw the title, is going to be a Skully Fenix AR. This is the rebirth of the Skully helmet that is now out there and available. I was given the opportunity to do this review. It's not my helmet. It was loaned to me, and I've used it now for a couple of weeks. I've had some long motorcycle trips and some short ones, a number of short ones, and I've got some information that I'd like to share about how the helmet works. I'm not going to do a review on how nice the helmet looks or what it weighs, or it's got a pin lock visor. You can go research that stuff yourself. But I'm going to try and give to you what I have come to terms with finding out the operation and what it does good and what it does bad. The helmet itself, yeah, it's not done. In my mind, it needs further developing. And it's got a HUD display. Let's take a look at it. And probably what I should also say, just to kind of disclaimer, it's not my helmet. It was given to me by the owner of LiveMap to review this helmet. He's bringing forward LiveMap. The owner has his own helmet that's coming available in November, December of 2019. It's going to be a true HUD, a heads-up display, not a small micro prism waveguide glass type of Google Glass type of display. His helmet will be a HUD display that's going to be projecting optics onto the inside of the visor, and truly will be a heads-up display. They call this a HUD, this display that's right here, but it's a misuse of the term. This is not a heads-up display. This small little guy here, it can pitch forward and back, it can twist, and on the bottom of the helmet here, I can bring the helmet up and down with the rotation of this knob and allow it to be adjusted nicely in your view. But you're going to be looking down, much like you look down today at a GPS mounted on your handlebars like I have on my electric glide. By the way, this is my garage. These are my two motorcycles. I'm a rider, and that's why LiveMap asked me to review this helmet, is that I ride motorcycles almost 365 days a year. I have two motorcycles. We have one car in the family. The car belongs to my wife. So I take advantage of riding because I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and you can do that pretty much 365 days a year here. Back to the helmet. As I said, LiveMap, this belongs to them. They found this helmet for sale on eBay from someone that did not like what they got and wanted to turn right around and sell it. It was gently used a few times, and the fellow put it up for sale. LiveMap found it and then asked me if I would do a review. I should also say that I can say with a little bit of authority that this is not a HUD. And why can I say that? I am an avionics engineer in my day job. I've been doing that for almost 40 years. I've worked on HUDs on aircraft systems. I know what a HUD is, and this is not a HUD. This is you got to look down at this. A HUD is going to be keeping your head up, hence the word or the acronym HUD, heads up display. You're going to be looking down at this, like I said, much like you would look down at that GPS mounted on the handlebar, or a GPS that was maybe on your smartphone and would go into a gripper on your handlebar and allow you to use your Google Maps here. So when I first got this helmet, what I found out was my Apple Music didn't work. I couldn't get my iPhone, and my Skully app that I downloaded was for the Apple operating system. I couldn't get the phone or the music to play. Well, what you will find out when you buy one of these helmets is Skully doesn't say anywhere on their website that they are optimized for Spotify music only. They kind of just gloss over that. Actually, don't gloss over it. They say nothing to the prospective buyer whatsoever, which I think is a little bit fraudulent. And then when you get this, you get the hard copy of the quick start manual and the user's manual, and you read for the first time that your helmet you paid $1,899 for does not allow you to use music from other music services like Pandora or Apple or Google or other services, very popular music services. They don't even cover how you would get music to work in the helmet as it were in the quick start guide. They just say it works with other music services, but it's optimized for Spotify. Well, you have to figure out on your own how it works with other music services. And what I'm going to tell you is that it does work with it, but it's crippled. And by that, here's what I ended up, at first I didn't think it was working, and then I went into my iPhone's Bluetooth listing. When I looked at the Bluetooth listing in my settings in my iPhone, I saw the helmet was listed 2 times. It automatically pairs with the app when you turn everything on, turn the app on, turn the helmet on, and the app is pretty much the navigation piece of this helmet. They have their own app dressed up in a Skully way, and it's the navigation for you. The music is outside the app. So apparently what they intended, and they don't tell you in the quick start guide or in the manual, is that you need to go in and get to the second Bluetooth path, and then when you manually connect to Bluetooth path number 2, you're going to get music, and you're going to get the phone to work from your iPhone. It would be nice if they would tell you that from the very start, instead of making you wonder, is it working? How do I make it work? How does Bluetooth work here for me to play my music? As I say, in my quest to troubleshoot why it wasn't working, I finally went into my Bluetooth listing, and when the helmet had automatically paired with the navigation in the app, I went into my Bluetooth and said, well, maybe if I unpair it. Well, that's when I discovered there's a secondary Bluetooth listed, and that's the music and telephone side of things. Now, that might be okay, that you would have a manual pairing action that was required. If they designed this helmet and they told us that it'll auto pair with the app for the navigation, and that you must manually go in and pair the helmet for the the telephone and the Bluetooth music or your playlist, I guess I could live with that. But here's what's wrong. They say they're optimized for Spotify. And it's broken with every other music that I can tell you about. Because I've also, while I've had this helmet, let a guy with an Android phone, we loaded the app up and we paired his Android phone. We paired his Android phone with the Skully app for Android, and we had the same problem. So when I say that there's a music problem, it's not a Android versus Apple iOS issue. It's that they haven't figured out how to make any other music services work, with the exception of the optimized Spotify. What happens is once you get music playing and you ask the helmet when you're riding to do something like, for example, "Okay, Skully" is the wake up command. So you would say, "Okay, Skully, what time is it?" The helmet comes back, says "checking time," and then it announces the time as it's 5:30. All right. What happens is it, as it should, while it's doing that for you, it should mute the music. It does, and it tells you what time it is. Or another command might be, "Okay, Skully, check battery," and it'll go and check the battery and give you a percentage of battery level that you are left with on this charge. And it mutes the music doing that. But what happens is the muted music stays muted. What you can see, and I've tested this in the comfort of my home, is I would get my iPhone out and I would open up and look at my music app. And in my music app, I would see that every time after it muted the music, and I asked Skully, "Okay, Skully, next song. Okay, Skully, previous song. Okay, Skully, volume up." I could see those commands being executed on the face of my phone, but the music continued to be muted. So what you've got is anytime you've asked the helmet to do something that interrupts the music, it'll mute the music, and you stay muted until you get off the motorcycle, pull the phone out of your pocket, reset the Bluetooth, and restart your music, and then you're good again. It doesn't allow the music to come back. Any command that you work with, and you might even say, "Okay, Skully, take me home." You can put presets of home and take me to work in the helmet. And the navigation command will likely work. I found that the navigation works, with the exception about every other power on. I get a Skobler error, Skobbler, Skobbler. Google it, you'll see what it is. It's a mapping service. Apparently it's the mapping service behind the Skully app. But about every other time I try to use the helmet and power up the app, I get a frozen nav display on the Skully app that won't allow me to proceed any further. So that's, and as I said, my friend's phone was also doing the same things. We tried to play a playlist on his phone. He's an Android user. He had the Android Skully app. And when we tried to do the Android Skully app on and do music, we could get the music playing, you could hear the music was playing, but anytime you executed a command that was, the helmet was to then come back to you with some other information, like what time it is or battery check or something in the navigation, the helmet would mute the music and you would never recover. So now, let me also talk to you about this HUD. This is not a HUD. As I said, I work in the avionics business, and a heads-up display, I can understand why HUDs, why pilots want them in aircraft. They want to keep their heads up out of the cockpit and look outside and be safe. This is the same thing for motorcycle riders. I want to look up, and it'd be nice to have information presented to me in my view that I didn't have to refocus on. When I'm riding and I'm looking at gauges, I have to sort of glance down and I have to look at a navigation, GPS mounted on my handlebar. I have to look down. It takes my look out in front of me away, the motorcycle and my navigation, or not my navigation, but my safe riding the motorcycle is taken away for a few split seconds while I look at the speed or the RPM or my GPS on my handlebar mounted GPS. So if you will, what you got here is about a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch or 0.75 inch by 0.75 inch small display that moves around and adjusts for you. But one of the bad things about this thing is that in bright sunlight, there's, think of this as like a rifle scope on a 30-06 rifle, and you got a scope for aiming that rifle. The scope's got an opening, a glass opening on the front and on the back. Well, this does too. This has got a glass opening on the front right here and a glass opening on the back. This thing takes in light on a bright day and it washes out the display. Now maybe they have a illumination auto brightness control, but it doesn't, if it is doing that for us when we operate it, it's not doing it enough because the display washes down and washes out so badly that you cannot use the rear camera. And you got a rear camera that's a fisheye lens. It's a 180-degree camera. It's right here, right here. And so you get a 180-degree field of view on that tiny display. You're not enhancing my safety by having me look at 3 lanes or whatever of traffic behind me and having me to try and determine and analyze what is behind me when I look at a small display such as that to determine is that a car behind me or what. If it's a black car, it blends into the roadway. If it's a white car, you can somewhat see it. But in bright sunlight, this thing is terrible. I did one time riding, take the visor up and I put my finger on front here and stopped the bright light from coming in to the helmet or into the HUD display as they call it. And it made the display more readable. Okay, but it still wasn't usable. It's more readable. I still got a display that's a 1/4 inch, or I mean 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch, trying to show me a 180-degree field of view behind me as a rider. And I'm supposed to analyze that and tell my mind that it's okay to make a lane change. Now, I'm sure Skully will say, well, you're not supposed to 100% rely on that. And I get that. This should enhance the safety and it should augment and give me something that increases my safety. But I would say it does the opposite. The reason I say it's the opposite is this thing takes too much time to analyze and figure out what's behind you. You're looking at a 180-degree field of view that the camera's bringing to a tiny, tiny display that's washed out in bright sunlight, and it's unusable. I don't know why people think this is a solution. A friend that also reviewed this, I had 2 riders from the local area here in Phoenix, Arizona, where I live, and they tried this helmet, and one of the guys' comment was, and it really is so true, he says, Skully's trying to solve a problem that isn't really a problem. And what does he mean by that? Well, rear view mirrors have worked for since day one. We've had rear view mirrors in cars and motorcycles, and I can see what I need to see easily and readily in my rear view mirrors. I don't need to add a little tiny display that's less than 1 inch across and 1 inch in height, give to me the 180 field of view so that I can try and figure out, is that a car? Is that 2 cars? Is that 3 cars? You're not going to be able to use this to do that. I think they've got people believing that this is a solution that it's going to enhance your safety. I'd say I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah, the display has navigation information. Not only do you get a 180-degree view, you also are getting on the top of the display nav information that'll show you a turn vector. So it'll show you your right turn's coming up in half a mile, or your right turn is coming up in 500 feet. And the voice also will tell you that too. So you get visuals if it wasn't washed out and it was readable and usable. But you get also Skully talking to you about the upcoming turn. Here's another problem though. If this helmet is doing everything you want it to do and you haven't interrupted it with the universal mute, the very reliable way of muting it is to say, okay, Skully, what time is it? And if you haven't muted it and the music's playing and the navigation starts to talk, the navigation talks over top of the music. It's another deficiency in their design. They've rolled out a beta helmet, in my opinion, that isn't working, because we all got to agree that when the nav talks and tries to tell you that the next turn is 500 feet and it tries to say that to you, it should mute the music so that you can hear that. And then when it's done telling you that, the music should come back. But this is one of the rare times that the music doesn't mute, is when the navigation talks, and the two of them are talking together and they're fighting it out. They both want to talk at the same time. You will not get the navigation to mute the music. But as I said, the design flaw or whatever that they have is music services other than Spotify. And I guess Spotify users love the helmet, I don't know. But my Apple Music, as soon as I ask this helmet to do something such as, okay, Skully, check battery, it mutes the music and I get no music to come back. As I say, I can watch in the comfort of my home while I'm playing with the helmet. Every one of the commands is still connected, so the Bluetooth is connected. And when I say play music, or when I say, hey, okay, Skully, next song, I see the artwork change. I can watch my Apple Music give to me the play out of the commands that I'm saying are happening, because on my Apple phone, I see the music artist changed artwork. So if it's got Led Zeppelin as an artwork song, and then I ask it to play next song and it's an Eagles song, I see the Eagles artwork. And I know that the commands are being executed, but what's happening is I'm in a mute forever and a day until I reset the Bluetooth and reset the music. Just ask it to volume up or volume down, and I see on my phone the volume scrolls up, volume scrolls down, but I'm muted. I am not going to get that music back until I get off the motorcycle. I take the phone out of my pocket and I reset the Bluetooth and reset the music, and then put my phone back in my pocket, and then I should be good again until I give it another command. Okay. So let's recap. What did we say here, and what are you getting? For some reason or another, when you buy this helmet, Skully doesn't tell you that only Spotify is optimized, and you won't know that until you get the hard copy manuals, the quick start and the user manuals, and you start going through them and you read them. I think that's kind of bad. I mean, you pay $1,899 for a helmet, and you don't find out until you get the documentation in your hand and the helmet in your hand that other music services don't work. Oh, you wanted music? Well, use Spotify and you'll be okay. It's not quite the way I would think a company should be. So you're surprised, and do they cover in the manual that there's a secondary Bluetooth path? No. So you're going to have to find out, unless you now hear me telling you that when you try to get your music and your phone to work, that you're going to see a secondary Bluetooth path that you need to connect. So you have to manually pair the second Bluetooth path. The first Bluetooth path to the app on your phone, that pairs automatically when you power up the helmet and the app. The other thing that this says, the recap summary here, is the HUD. It's not a HUD, and it's washed out in sunlight, unusable, completely unusable. And they're trying to solve a problem here that I don't think exists. Mirrors are going to work for what we need to see behind us. You cannot use this tiny display to see anything of value that is going to enhance your safety in a way that is worth the money that you're paying. This is my opinion, but maybe some of you have an opinion otherwise. But come on, look at the tiny display. You're seeing a 180-degree field of view, and behind you is 3 or 4 cars on a display that's 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. You're not going to be able to make out details. You're not going to enhance your safety looking at this thing. So you got a little tiny HUD that's washed out in sunlight. It's too small to be useful. If you don't have Spotify, your music cuts out and mutes, goes into a mute. You need to get off the motorcycle and reset the Bluetooth and reset the music to start it over. And music won't mute when you have navigation and music working together. During the good times, when you're having a good time listening to your music and it's navigating for you, the navigation talks over top of the music and it doesn't mute it. That's when you would want it to mute it, but it doesn't mute it. So you got nav trying to talk over top of music. Also, every other time that I power this on, I get these Skully errors. As I said, Google it, Skully AR. They're Skully mapping errors. They come up in the Skully app, and the navigation's frozen, and it doesn't work until you reset the app again. Right now, too, Skully's only selling a DOT version of this helmet, so they haven't finished up the ECE. They say on their website they're working on it. That's a pretty big challenge. If they haven't done ECE by now, it makes me wonder. I've had some private conversations with some people in the helmet world, and ECE isn't just a cakewalk. It's something that's going to take time and real testing to get done. DOT, easy to achieve. That's why they're got DOT, and they can sell to countries that only require DOT, but right now this is kind of like a domestic USA helmet only. So anyways, would I have wanted to buy this? No. Too small a display, unusable. It's not useful in showing me safety concerns of traffic behind me. It's not a good display because I got to look down at it. It's not a real HUD. They call it a heads-up display. It's not a heads-up display. As I said, I've worked HUDs on aircraft. I know what a HUD is. This is not a HUD. They want you to believe that what you're getting here is a heads-up display, but you're looking down at a very, very, very small display that gets flooded with too much light, and when it's flooded with too much light, you lose the ability to even, it's useless. As I said, I rode along and was able to put my finger over top of the display, and I said, oh, it's much better. But it's better in that I can see what they're trying to show me, but it's still not useful because it's on a very small display. So good things, I guess it's a good helmet. It looks nice, somewhat. The voice commands pretty much execute first time, every time. It does understand. A few times though, when I'd lose the music and it would go and mute itself, I would say, okay, Skully, play music. And it would come back half the time saying, playing music. And I'd say, okay, Skully, play music. And it would come back half the time and say, playing music. And then sometimes it would come back and say, checking time. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to check time. So about every other third time, as you are frustrated and asking for it to, okay, Skully, play music, you would hear it say and come back at you, checking time. Although it didn't give me the time, it just said it was checking it. So that's kind of what I can tell you. Would I have wanted to buy one? No. Would you? I don't know. There are a number of solutions coming, and this one's out there. I think they rushed this to market. Why would you have a website that doesn't even reveal that you don't have music services that are available to you, with the exception of Spotify? I think it's a little bit fraudulent that you sell a helmet and then let the customer find out through reading hard copy manuals that the music services other than Spotify don't work. And I'm here to tell you they don't. They don't work on my friend's Samsung, and they don't work on my Apple. So Android or Apple iOS, it's equal opportunity. The problem of music muting is universal to both operating systems, Android and Apple iOS. It's because they haven't sorted out other music services. They only have apparently optimized music for Spotify.